I guess I just wanted to reiterate that whatever level of consciousness is being reflected through the mind body, we have to be sincere about it. We have to be sincere about that. So if we are still giving allegiance to otherness, which this is a big time. This is a really big time. It's the time of the great turning. We are very fortunate because look at this gathering. We're very, very fortunate to have a way forward that isn't just turning on the evening news and believing every word, taking it as another stance against this stance, this mind world against this mind world, and all of that. But it's a big seduction. The force of habit of the false self. I mean, Aja goes into it very deeply in that book that I've been reading out of tonight. I mean, it's a section called Wake Up or Perish in that book. You know, it's right down to the right down to that. So we've been practicing together where we remember in this moment, 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 we remember our deepest understanding, our deepest current understanding of who am I? What is I? And then we reorient to that. We reorient to that because that is what did he that's where the dissolution, where the intelligence that is animating, sustaining, maintaining, giving way as this moment is able to permeate, is through this emptiness, no thingness, no otherness. That's where it takes root. And that's where the rewiring naturally, it naturally harmonizes, it naturally evolves, if you want to say that. It naturally sheds the layers of habituated nervous system control and lights up the pathways of inspiration, creativity, freshness. This isn't something that, we don't have the switch. The great mystery lives life as itself. Through the mind worlds more or less diluted. So I think it's a very deeply held habit, condition, even conviction that we're waiting for a better moment, a different moment. I'll be more awake. I'll be better able. The world will be different. the relinquishing, the surrendering of agenda and expectation can be very challenging. Can be very challenging. We can grab on to these mental conceptions of spiritual truths. We can grab on to there may be an experience of inner silence of mind, the grace of that. And then the conceptualization can override it. You know, we still want to hang on to a doingness. Let me try to think of an example. I think it'll be a little bit more clear. Like good and bad, okay? So there's a bad thing happening. That's what the senses say. That's the perception. That's the conditioning. There's this bad thing happening. And it has power. It exists. It's real. And so we have to counteract it through our practice, through our realization, through our betterment with a goodness that is greater than the badness. But do we see how this keeps us in that framework forever and ever and ever and ever and ever? The war of good and bad. More bad, more good, more good, more bad, more. They're at battle, and this actually has some power, which is absolutely true in the human mind worlds. Absolutely true in the mind worlds. The 9 billion mind worlds of conditioned thought, habit, belief, rebellion, arrogance, unworthiness. It's absolutely true there. And it can prove itself over and over and over again because it's self-generating, never ending. Something bad happened, so there must be a badness that we need to counteract and interact with and overcome with this, like what we have gained. That's so deeply held, right? Right? The mind is convinced. In this moment, I can feel the mind convinced of that. But what begins to be lived is something quite different than that. Where one understands at a cellular, lived way that as long as this belief is out there, as long as there is a believer to believe the belief, then reflective reality, there it is. Because love is unconditional. There's no rewarding, punishing God, ultimate power that says, well, we'll let that one get through because karmically it's the best thing, and here's the score sheet, and we're keeping track, and yeah, this and yeah, that. No, it's unconditional. It gives way. It serves up the moment. It serves it up. So if we are taking that and forming it through a believer into same as it ever was. If the cookie cutter is historical memory, historical conditioning, ideas of good and bad, ideas of war, then that's what we get. Not because we're bad, not because there's something that wants us to grow through very, very difficult circumstances and war. No, because that's the love. Unconditional love is unconditional love, is unconditional, is unconditional. Here's the moment. Here it is. Here it is. Is it generated and from and as an avenue of no thingness, the void, emptiness, in the infinite, whatever you want to, God, enlightenment, I don't know what word works for you. Or is it a former of belief? How is it informed? Informed. How? And by who? By what? This can never be processed through intellect. It's an absolute dead end. The Yeah, or self-consciousness. It can't be processed through self-consciousness either. Not to despair, because each and every one of us, somehow or another, and I don't know if it was through meditation, but has an innate, natural desire to return to the inner stillness of mind. Especially if you're sitting in this phone call. Especially if you're right here in this gathering. And one has the direct remembrance of that as well. It's just sometimes we have to look for it, because what we're looking for is the, oh, I got it, I lost it. I got it, I lost it. And then we're focused on that. We're like clamped down on it, that it would appear exactly the same all the time. I had this giant awakening in 1979, and now it's not, it doesn't, the world doesn't, the world, blah, 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 blah. And or I took medicine and this is what happened. And now it's supposed to look like that 100% of the time. And what is that belief? That belief is the belief that it comes and goes. So go to that belief and inquire into it. Is that true? Is that real? Where is it now? Who am I? What is I? What is here beyond coming and going? Is it true that it goes and comes? And when that's discovered, then reorient to that. Root, inhabit that knowing that's natural, innate, inherent, but obscured or unconscious. But in this group, not so unconscious. It's just obscured with excuse me, the nurse comes forward sometimes, it's just the puking out of the rest of the, false self. I say this very precisely. It matters how we see it. As in, matter itself comes into existence as we see it. matter. This isn't even necessarily a spiritual insight, although here it was, but this is quantum physics that has been, they just keep trying to throw mud at the wall to see if something will stick. Particles and waves, relative reality, particles and waves, nothing exists. Nothing exists but the breakdown of Newtonian, cause and effect is just very, very difficult condition to bust through. It's conditioned, it's habitual, it's believed, deeply, deeply believed. And I know it doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone, but this is why here I'm more and more and more motivated, drawn, guided, I don't know how to say that. Responsive immediacy, immediate responsiveness towards the Aramaic teachings of the man that we call Jesus. I'm not talking about all the stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the physical reality, the perceived physical reality. It matters how we see it. So it's greatly, greatly worth our while to question every belief, question the habits, question the conditions, and continue to ask, what is here? What is true?